Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get to it. Let's get to it, man. Episode 117 of the Hanging with Beat Drop podcast. Yes, sir. We are in here like swimwear. And it's actually a pretty steamy day, so the pool sounds amazing. Um, what's good, y'all? What's cracking, man? Last week was episode landed on Valentine's Day. Hopefully everybody had a good Valentine's Day, or if you were, seeing everything on Instagram, hopefully, you show love, you know what I'm saying? What's good? What's cracking? How you guys doing? Hopefully everybody's doing solid. What did we get into last week? Last week I gave you guys like a health update of Jacob. So, another one. He's doing great. He finished his antibiotics. So he is doing magnificent. Today he doesn't have school, so in case you hear any background noise of any wrestling, it's him because he's like watching it with my pops and they're like screaming as if they haven't watched it like 30 times. But that's what's going on in the Ramirez household at the current time. But yeah, man, Jake was feeling great. Um which I'm glad because the past several weeks it was back and forth. He still has like a lingering cough, but it doesn't sound as crazy as it once did. Why do I sound super like Latino this way? Like I say once did, yeah, fool was sick as fuck. Excuse my language. Anyways, I'm wild, man. Had a great workout today. You know what I'm saying? Workout was feeling magnificent. So we feel a good mood. You know what I mean? We got the workout in, we got the good energy flowing. And so this week, what I want to get into? Well, a couple things. I think one thing I want to talk about is just growth. I think growth and solitude. And I'm gonna explain what I mean by that, okay? So this week was one of my good friends, Emilio's birthday. It was his 30th birthday. It was good seeing my guy happy, man. Seeing him and his fam celebrate his 30th birthday. It's such a big moment to be able to celebrate 30 years. I'm gonna turn 30 in about 7 months, so that's gonna be crazy. I gotta figure out how to celebrate myself. Anyways, so I was able to catch up with some of my good friends back in the day. Shout out to even my guy Ace, man. I remember doing so many house parties with my guy, seeing him and his queen. So that was great. And it's crazy because I was able to see my friend Nancy, and I know Nancy for a couple of years. We did street team a couple of years together, and something I want to get into, and it was good catching up with her because we were just talking about how we're both doing therapy. You feel me? And we were just kind of complimenting each other in a sense of like, yo, like that's great that you're doing that. You're trying to figure out so much stuff from within. So obviously I won't get into exactly what we spoke because some deep stuff. But what I do want to talk about as far as the conversation I had with her, and I'm not sure if I've talked about it before, but I think something that's great to talk about, it's doing things like when you are going through things by yourself. And what I mean by that is how much you should appreciate solitude. I don't mean to be a loner and like not talk to nobody, but I think this is what I'm trying to I was telling God to kind of like try to pave a way of how to explain this. But I think for me, in a sense of like, we all go through stuff, like we're all going through certain situations. And I think that how do we deal with the situations that we're going through, right? So a couple years ago, well, I haven't drank or smoked. In June it's going to be 3 years. And I remember a couple years ago, and I think subconsciously you wouldn't even notice that I would do it, but obviously with time you start noticing your habits. But I noticed that whenever I was stressed or I was dealing with a situation, anything, I would have an external source to kind of like not deal with certain situations, right? Escapism, it will be a good way of putting it. And I kind of wanted to talk about that today because I think at some point you're gonna have to be okay with answering difficult questions to yourself by yourself. For example, let's say a couple years ago, if I was dealing with a stressful situation, I didn't want to answer difficult questions. I would either smoke or I would drink, and it would kind of just go away, but then it would come back, right? And I think Kendrick has a I don't want to Kendrick has a record if he says something about like doing it sober. I feel like I've talked about this before, but I feel like I want to bring it up again because I hope it's valuable to you guys. But like sometimes you got to go through stuff and you got to really go through it. Like I was telling Nance, I was like something that I've been noticing about myself the last couple of months is that I really want to feel what I'm going through, right? Like I don't want to have distractions. I don't want to have dopamine hits. Like I was like, if I'm going through something, I think the easiest thing for me before was like, okay, I'm gonna go out with my friends, or I'm gonna go out and have an amazing meal and drink and forget, and then I wouldn't deal with the situation. Like I would just like I would just let it be. I think right now, I don't know if it's the right way of going about it, but I've noticed a lot about myself going through it like that, right? Like I think even in January when I happened to catch COVID, and obviously I was isolated. Even those days being, in your room and just like thinking, like really having to like, ask yourself difficult questions, and I think right now, a lot of interviews that I've watched or stuff that's been, catching my attention is what do you do when you're by yourself? Or like what do you do when you're going through something? Are you always distracting yourself? Like I even think about when we go out in public and you're like in a doctor's office, like you sit down and the first thing you do is check your phone, or you're going through, oh, I'm gonna go do that. Like you're always looking for external things. And yeah, so I think I wanted to talk about that because I was like, I feel like as I've gotten older, I had to really understand why I do the things that I do. If it's the same habits that I'm doing, if it's the same triggers, you feel me, like stuff like that. I think I've been able to really ask myself those questions the past several months because I've been doing my best to like remove any distractions, right? So if I'm going through something, I don't want to just be like, okay, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna forget, right? And like look for fun things, like I think for me, you know, it's been one of those where I'm like, nah, like what does this mean? What does that mean? Let me have solitude. Let me go I've been going a lot of walks, just nature walks, even sometimes where I would listen to a podcast, but then I'm like, you know what? Let me just walk with nothing. Just see the trees, see the plants, not no distractions. You feel me? And boy, let me tell you, it's a journey, and it's a continuous journey. And I think right now I'm in that journey of really allowing myself to know what God's telling me, and like really sit down and not distract myself, like really have moments of just sitting down and thinking. So that's something that I just wanted to share with y'all, because I think when me and Nancy were chopping it up, I felt like that was something that could be helpful for you guys, is really find time for solitude and really find time to ask yourself difficult questions without looking for external things. I think that's very important. And I feel like I've possibly have done it before in the past, but not at the magnitude that I'm doing it now. I feel like right now I'm just like, I feel like I'm finding time to be by myself and write down things that I'm thinking. Now that and another thing too, like I think one thing that I'm also starting to do a lot is reaching out to people when I'm thinking about them. I don't, if you listen to this podcast and I shot you a text, you probably know what I'm talking about. But like now I'm just like, if I'm thinking about somebody, I'm just gonna shoot them a text. Just good energy. You know what I'm saying? Like letting go of the ego and the pride of being, like, nah, maybe they don't, nah. I've been really thinking about that. Like there's been moments where like I just think about somebody and I'm like, yo, how you been, fam? Like, you good? Hopefully everything's well. And that's been something that I just been doing. I don't even know why. It's I feel like, God just putting me in that space of just checking in with people and not make it into a big situation. Just making somebody's day, just being like, oh, cool, like a little smile, like someone has checked in with me. Not just when they don't just celebrate me when they see me do dope stuff online. I think it's easy to celebrate somebody when they're doing great things, but sometimes you could be like, yo, what happened to this person? How that person's been? Is this person MIA? Are they going through something? And that's just kind of been my space, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing that. And another thing that I've been really trying to figure out for myself is who's my circle, who's around me, what whoever's around me, what are they telling me? Is it good for me? Is it good for the person that I'm trying to become? I think that's been very important for me. Like I just been thinking about that so much. Is who's my circle? What am I being told? Um, because whoever you hang out with and your influences is very important. And you always hear that, like, oh, the five people you hang out with is, they're gonna be able to tell how you are. And you know I think there's a lot of truth to that. I'm not even gonna front, because it's like, am I hanging out with people that just tell me what I want to hear? Am I hanging out with people that tell me things that are good for me, that are uncomfortable but could make me a better person? That's been super huge for me. I've been for me, it's like, who am I hanging out with? Who am I talking to? What am I consuming? Because like, we are who we surround ourselves with. So that's been something that I encourage you to look at your circle, look at who you're hanging out with. Because me as a 29-year-old man, I don't feel like I'm old, but I feel like there's been a lot of life lessons in my life where I had to be very aware of who is my circle. I had to be very aware of who do I talk to and where is my energy being put to. Like, am I hanging out with people that just like, hey, let's just go out every day, but let's not, invest good energy to ourselves. And that's not a knock to anybody that, I'm not against fun. I ain't gonna be that dude, but I'm saying, like, I have a son who's what kind of energy am I being around? You feel me? So that's been huge for me. Like, like, when I speak to people, like, how can I motivate you? How can you motivate me? Like, yo, what are you doing? What are that? Okay, cool. Like, can I support you? Can you support me? Like, are you at a 20% right now? How can we get you at 110? So that's been something that's been on my mind a lot. And not being afraid to reach out for help. Like, sometimes, there's things that like, for example, like last week, I needed something for my mental praise brand. And I reached out to my guy. Like, I was like, yo, bro, like, would you recommend this or would you recommend that? And I have no problem reaching out to people, because I'm just like, man, like, I know my purpose is for this to be something good for people. Like, why put my ego and just be like, nah, like, we just I think right now I'm just doing my best to have a great alignment with God and understand, like, what can I do to make a change? What can I do to, improve myself and be just a good person for everybody else, man? Because I am such an imperfect person. Like, as I said, in the moment of solitude, you get to really figure out, like, what are your common mistakes that you be making? What are your insecurities? What are things that, you know, how do you treat people? How do you treat yourself? How do you treat people that treat you mean? Or how do you, like, it's just all these things that I've been you know asking myself. So I hope those things, has you going into the week, you think about, because I think it's very important. I think sometimes we just go about life and we just, like, I've been watching a service which is really good. I recommend you guys watch it. This is from Transformation Church. It's about searching for God's kingdom, and it's just a lot of great stuff there, man. I recommend you guys really check it out. But there was something he said where he was like, yo, how you doing? And people are like, I'm good, getting by. And that really resonated with me, because I'm like, man, like, every day is such a blessing. Every day is a blessing. Like, we don't even see it like that. We're so worried about tomorrow. We're so worried about petty stuff, and we don't even notice that it's a blessing to wake up today. It's a blessing that today we have a choice to become better, to be there for other people. And we don't even see it like that. Like, we just focus on stuff that's not good for us, like bad energy. You feel me? Like, don't get me wrong, there's moments I wake up and I'm like sluggish and I don't feel like working out, or I don't feel like being, positive. But I had to, like, renew my mind. I had to think about things so different. I had to have a different perspective, because there's people that you don't even know depend on you, whether it's your kids, whether it's your coworkers, whether it's people that are going through stuff, and they look at you and they're like, damn, like, this person's, having a good day. I should probably feed off that energy. And that's what, God put us in this world to be there for somebody else. You feel me? And, You know, a verse that I think is magnificent is Matthew 6:34, which is, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own, which is facts. You feel me? Like, I think sometimes we're so worried about next week, next month, and then it's like, bro, let's worry about today, because we don't even have a guarantee that tomorrow we're gonna wake up. You feel me? So it's like all the petty stuff, like, as much as it's difficult to like bypass that, it's difficult to not look at those things and be like, damn, like, like that really hurt me, or damn, like that's weak, or like, damn, like you gonna let him talk to you, like all these things. At some point, you just gotta reflect and be like, man, like freak all that. You feel me? Like, what are we doing? Like everybody has a death sentence, bro. So I think about that all the time. It's like, I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. There's times I go on social media and I see a person, I see somebody's dad pass away, I see somebody's mom pass away, a relative, and I'm like, man, that person's going through it. You feel me? And it's like, I'm over here tripping about something that I'm not even tripping about 2 months later or 3 months later. You feel me? Like, how much times do we worry about stuff and we don't, and like 5 months from now, we forgot what we were worried about today. You feel me? So it's difficult. It's not easy. I'm not gonna be here and try to sugarcoat it and be like, no, don't. But it's like, in the end of the day, if we really look at it in a different perspective, in a different light, in God's light, it's like, man, like, we're so thankful for today. We have a choice to be great today. You feel me? I pray for every person that's listening right now. I pray for every person that's going through so many battles, or if you're in a great season, I pray that you're thankful for that season, because sometimes we forget that God gives us what we prayed for so long ago. I know that, people always think about like, oh, you're going through a tough time and that's it. But I also want to pray for the people that are going through a great season, and, know that always have God with you, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that I've been in moments where I've been in great seasons, and, I forget to thank God for what he's given me, or the people that he put around me, or whatever the case might be. I think sometimes we take things for granted. And I just want to tell y'all, man, that it's like, with God, you know what I'm saying? With God, anything's possible. So, like, what's that verse? I don't know if I remember, but it's like, with man, it's impossible, but with God, it's possible. Something along those lines. But the substance is there. You know what I'm saying? With God, everything is possible. So, I want to tell you guys, I appreciate you for listening. I know I'm always on my random stuff, but I want to be able to, have my thoughts, and hopefully give you guys some good gems. And if you feel like I'm not, that's just my authenticity. So too bad. No, just kidding. But appreciate you guys. We're already 2 months into the new year. If you feel like you haven't accomplished your goals, don't be so hard on yourself. Just really, like I said, have time for yourself. Really know what you want. Think about what's best for you, and let's just be in God's kingdom, man. Let's just dominate what we could do. Like, let's just live to our full potential, man. Like, there's no reason why we should settle for anything less besides improving every single day. We're just progressing, because we're never gonna be perfect ever. And I think, the closer I get with God, the closer I see that God is perfect, not me. I'm just thriving to try to be better. There it is. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a beautiful freaking day, man. Much love. We out of here, man. Peace.